everybody, welcome back to another movie review. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. I'm just getting set up here just because I actually just finished watching this. And this is the review that I was talking about earlier in regards to Sundance. I said there would be one review, one film that I was planning on seeing. And I had a debate between two films, one of which was going to be, I believe it was called Little Death, the one with David Schwimmer. I was curious to see that one, but ultimately opted to not watch that one. Also, was curious to see something else. Forget what it was called, but decided to go with this one. That one being In the Summers, which was written and directed by Alessandra La Carassa Samudio. I'm sorry if I just butchered that whole name. Making her directorial debut with this, and had a splash at Sundance. Actually went to go on and earn some of the top prizes from the festival, including because it was in the dramatic competition, it won the jury prize. So went home big, and starring Sasha Call, as you would know from The Flash, as well as Leslie Grace, who you guys would know from Batgirl. So two, rejected DC actresses, as well as most notably Leo Michel, I think that's how you say her name. Who we've actually talked about before on this channel with a film called Mutt, which I thought personally in that movie she brought the best performance of last year. Very overlooked sort of film, so please check out Mutt when you guys can. I think it's available on Netflix still, so check it out when you guys get a chance to. But this details two daughters, eventually played by Sasha Call and Leo Mel, as they visit their father, who is estranged, who is not with their mother anymore, and you learn throughout the film that he is a raging alcoholic, and the father, played by Residente, who is apparently making his acting debut with this, and throughout throughout the film, they show as the years go by each time that these daughters visit their father, and how their relationship changes, and how ultimately they come to recognize one another. And within the toxicity that was there at the start, you see the varying dealings and the handlings of that abuse, some of which have a easier time dealing with it, while others have a much more difficult time with processing such abuse and such toxicity. So you have a very standard premise at the center of it. It's very much just about toxicity and about abuse and about how that can fracture relationships, and how that also may fracture one's mind, and how that may influence them for better or worse, mostly for the worse in the way that they depict this. Just completely the worse. I don't know what I'm saying there, but the film that I would use to give an example to would be Moonlight, because it does move in that same sort of fashion, where it shows you relics, or at least fragments of specific moments throughout the years with these two girls. Like Moonlight, where they show you very specific moments within that boy's life to where they are as an adult at the end. And how all these events, make that person the way they are today. Very similar in that within The Summers, where within each of these little memories that we're visiting, we're getting ideas as to what these girls might end up being years down the line. Specifically with Sasha Call's character, who very much wants her father's approval, whereas the other person, Leo Mihel's character, she's pretty much in the know. She's more of a realist. She doesn't buy the act that her father is playing. So she's very knowing of his true intentions and how he actually is. And when those moments arrive, when the father does show his true colors, or at least at that time when his rage is presented, it's quite haunting, and it gets very, very tense and very, I would almost borderline say, terrifying. Um, and I wouldn't solely put it on the acting. I think that the two girls, Sasha Call, Leah Mahel, I think that they do well for what they're doing. You know, I mean, ultimately, it's kind of like how I said of Arctic, where it's like the acting is not necessarily um, the main point of interest with said film. What's more interesting about the film is the craftsmanship, and the same goes for the End Summers, where the craftsmanship is extremely captivating and very decaying, I must say. I think decaying is ultimately the proper word for this movie, because the surrounding nature of the film. I mean, there's a subtle idea of how things are just starting to fade and everything's starting to just devolve. Like, ultimately, the walls are starting to fall, and that our fantasies as a child are starting to fade, and reality ultimately starts to take shape. That little thing, I just noticed it at one point, and it just really was like, wow, you know, because it really informs that circumstance and really, again, deepens that emotional center that the film is trying to have. Um, and you know, throughout it, you're just heavily invested, very tense, very just disturbed. And I think a lot of it comes down from the directing, and a lot to do with how uh, uh, the director is just handling the specific circumstance. Like I said, the acting is good. I mean, it's not to say it's not bad. It's good, but it's to say that it's just an element at play, but it's not the main driving force. What's really driving the film is the craftsmanship from the director. She's just really just getting this whole circumstance and really using subtle details with with a pool, with I like how when we enter in other chapters, we get like this big little table of all certain elements to kind of illustrate what is to come, or to perhaps illustrate time passing. You know, I think that she gets a very strong idea of those emotions, and also on a personal level, as somebody who has dealt with who has dealt with their father to some capacity. There's moments in this that made me tear up, and there's moments in it that just really resonated with me because of how authentic the film represented such ideas. Um, you know, like it really hit me to my core, and you know, like certain images like with pool and stuff like that, it reminded me very much of stuff from my childhood, um, and it's just really well made. That's the way I'll put it. It's just a really well made film that has that 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 weight. It has that tone. It has that captivating quality to it. The acting is good, um, and the nature that it presents, this quiet but also like but also at some points like arresting like value. It just really resonates and it really hits, and eventually you just find yourself tearing up, and I did find myself tearing up towards the end, because it's something that anybody who is in that circumstance is wishing to hear from the individual that put them there. They want to hear something of an apology. And when such a moment arrives, like, sorry for spoiling it, but when such a moment has arrived, I just found myself tearing up, and it just really hit, and it really put the film in a certain light, and it's true to life in some regards. Not always. I mean, there's people out there who will never apologize, and they're just scum. But it just really brings this story to some closure. It doesn't leave it on a tragic note. It leaves it with some closure. And emotionally, it just feels much more satisfying than what the latter could have been, where there is no closure, you know. Which they could have done that if they wanted to, but But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the tone, the overall just depictions. I think that the atmosphere built is just thick and rich. I love the subtleties that are played up within and just visual in the visual mediums. It just really, really worked for me, and I was really, really engaged, very invested, and um, obviously I'm emotionally charged. I don't know if you could tell in my eyes, but just I'm a little glassy eyed, but um, and properly haunting. I mean, it was. I was really like the father's acting. I will say wasn't the best, but it was like yeah, like that's the way I'll put it. It's like the father's acting wasn't the best, but the mood that was created within the father because of the director really sold it. You know, really sold it. So less so with the father, more to do with the directing that is happening, because whatever the acting isn't doing, the directing is making up for it, and it just really, really puts it all together, and it really just delivers that emotional punch, and it hits. So. So yeah, so those are my thoughts on In the Summers. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not sure when it'll be released. I don't know who's going to pick it up for distribution. Kind of similar to Mud again. I could see A24 picking this up. I mean, that it it has characteristics of Moonlight, but it has enough distinction to where it is its own beast. It's not just a copy and paste sort of thing. Moonlight is is more about environmental influences, where this is about specific influence, and that's the main difference, between Moonlight and In the Summers, is that this is more squarely on a family, whereas Moonlight is a more broader showcase of how environments influence people. So, but yeah, really enjoyed this. You guys should definitely check it out when it gets released. Uh, Support also Leo Mihail. I think she is just awesome. I really liked her in this as well, even though it's brief. She still did a really good job. I really enjoyed her in Mutt. I want to see more of her. She's a really good talent. Uh, so yeah. But you guys know your thoughts on In the Summers. If you guys had just attended Sundance, if you guys saw it, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's gonna be it for me, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.